You wake with the sound of flies, not the harsh buzz of a swarm. No, just one, maybe two, drawing slow circles through the thick morning air. Their wings hum beside your ear, veering away as you stir, roll slightly on the damp mattress, and squint into the yellow-gray light leaking through your shuttered window. The room is hot. Of course it is. It was hot when you fell asleep. It was hot when you woke to turn your pillow to the cool side, which never is. And it is hot now, as the sun rises over the Hooghly River and begins to burn the city from the inside out. You lie still, one leg half covered by a linen sheet gone stiff with sweat, listening to the layered chorus of morning sounds. A distant rooster, the cough of a neighbor, the creak of ox-cart wheels grinding past your window. You are in Calcutta. It is 1752. You are a clerk. And, despite your education, your pale skin, and your father's terribly heartfelt letter of recommendation, you are utterly expendable. You rise, not quickly, but like a man preparing for battle, which in some sense you are. You sit on the edge of the narrow cot, feet meeting the floor with a sound that is neither solid nor satisfying. Just a small slap of flesh against dust. There are ants on the wall. They travel in neat lines. You have never seen ants so organized, or so large. You wash, if it can be called that. A chipped ceramic basin holds what remains of the water you carried up yesterday. It is warm, vaguely brown, and smells like the cloth you used to wipe your ink spills last week. Still, you dip your hands, splash your face, rub your neck, and wipe it dry with a cloth that might once have been white. You button your shirt. It is your only shirt. Your sleeves are ink-stained at the wrists, and you consider them part of the uniform now. A bell rings somewhere downriver, temple, perhaps, or ship. You are never quite sure. You hear bells every day but have long stopped assigning them to anything specific. Bells mean something to someone. You are not that someone. You gather your things. The ledger, the thin ledger, the one you keep hidden behind the thicker ones because it contains tallies that no one has asked for but you continue anyway. A kind of comfort in numbers. A spoon, a dull, curved spoon that once belonged to another clerk who either died or was promoted. You're not sure which is worse. A coin, mostly for fidgeting. You haven't bought anything non-essential in weeks. The last time you did, it was a mango, and you dropped it in the street. It rolled into the gutter. You watched it go, then turned back toward the warehouse. You descend the narrow stairs of your rented quarters, one hand sliding along the wall for balance. The stairwell smells like last night's fish and this morning's damp. You open the door. The city breathes on you, hot and heavy, as if the whole of Calcutta is exhaling one long, patient sigh. The walk to the warehouse is short. You've memorized the cracks in the path, the slope near the banyan tree, the spot where a broken barrel leaks salt water into the dirt. You nod at no one. They nod back, or not. It doesn't matter. You are a ghost with a ledger. They see dozens like you. The East India Company warehouse is a squat, sun-battered building with walls the color of old parchment. It crouches near the river, close enough that you can hear the boats but far enough to smell the rot of low tide. You step inside. It is cooler, barely, and dim. The high windows filter in slats of light filled with dust. You take your seat. The stool is hard, your desk harder. You run a hand over the surface, feel the etched scars of bored knives and broken quills. You open the first ledger. Shipment number 468, indigo. 4 crates. Received. Shipment number 469, saltpeter. 11 barrels. Partial. Shipment number 470, opium. 2 chests. Delayed. You dip your pen in the inkwell. The ink is thick, dark, clings to the nib like molasses. You begin to write. The river groans outside. A crate thuds in the corner as someone shifts inventory. A rat scurries beneath the floorboards, or perhaps above them. They are unpredictable in that way. You write slowly, carefully, one line at a time. This is not a task to rush. This is not a task to finish. This is a task that continues day after day as the spice flows and the ledgers fill, and your handwriting slowly degenerates into the script of a man whose wrist and mind have both become sly. TLY curved. Hours pass. You break for tea. It is not good tea, but it is hot, and the clay cup feels comforting in your hand. You sip slowly, watching a stevedore argue with a merchant over the state of a leaking barrel. Neither will win. The barrel will continue to leak, and someone else will be blamed. You return to your stool. Write, tally, recheck, seal the wax, stack the paper, swat the fly. Lunch is rice, lukewarm, served with a sauce of unknown origin and suspicious consistency. You eat it anyway. There is a fan, turned by a young boy with a string. He nods at you. You nod back. Neither of you speaks. It is too hot for talking. Afternoon. More ink. More lists. You sign your name 14 times and forget what it looks like. Once, you spell it wrong. No one notices. You correct it anyway. By late afternoon, the light shifts. It thickens. The river outside turns bronze, then gray. The air smells of storm. You feel it in your bones, in the ache behind your left eye. You close the ledger, stretch your back. One vertebra cracks like old furniture. You sigh, the same sigh you sigh every day. You walk home in silence. The mango vendor is gone. A cow stares at you from the shade of a neem tree. You stare back. It wins. Up the stairs, into the room. The basin is empty. You leave it. Your shirt is damp again. You don't change it. There is no one to notice. You lie on the cot, one leg uncovered. A single fly traces the air above you. You close your eyes. Not in sleep. Not yet. Just in rest. The city breathes again. Slow. Relentless. Watching. Waiting. So do you. You dream of ledgers. Not grand dreams with symbolism and mystery. No. Yours are literal. Pages turning, one after the other. Crates labeled with fading ink. A barrel of cloves falling from a cart in slow motion. You wake without knowing you were asleep. The window is darker now, stained with the grime of heat and river wind. You sit up, muscles groaning like old rope. You light the oil lamp. The flame sputters, then steadies. It smells faintly of fish. Everything here smells faintly of fish, even the air on Sundays. You pick up the small notebook you keep under your cot. It's not official. No one assigned it. It contains things no one else cares about. Names of stevedores, weather patterns, a tally of days since the last proper breeze. Today will be day 73. You record it without emotion. There's a knocking sound outside. Not urgent, just wood tapping stone. A merchant unloading his cart. A man looking for his mule. You listen, not out of interest, but out of habit. Nothing ever comes of these sounds, but you've trained your ears to catalog them. You eat a small supper, a piece of bread, hard at the edges, and something that might have been cheese. It's not moldy enough to throw away. You chew slowly. The act of eating has become more about timing than taste. You've mastered the art of dragging a meal across an hour. A storm begins in the distance. You hear it in the shift of air, the way it presses against the glassless window. Thunder mutters like a man too tired to argue. You smile. Briefly, the roof will leak again. You've placed the basin exactly where it needs to be. You lie down, lamp flickering low, and listen to the city sigh itself to sleep. The rain comes soft, then strong, then softer again, like someone changing their mind mid-sentence. You sleep without ceremony. Morning again. The room smells of damp wool and old ink. You sit up and stretch. Something in your spine makes a sound like a floorboard under stress. You stand, check the basin. 2 fingers of rainwater. You wash your face and feel marginally less like a discarded garment. You button your shirt, the same shirt. Your reflection in the metal basin is warped and faint. You haven't seen a proper mirror in months. It's probably for the best. Outside, the street is quieter. The rain has scared away the usual crowd. A dog limps past, its ears flicking at flies. You nod at the dog. The dog ignores you. You respect that. The warehouse looms in the morning mist, the bricks still wet, smelling of river and history. You open the door. It creaks. It always creaks. You've come to like the sound. It confirms you exist. At your desk, the ink is still drying in the inkwell from yesterday. You rotate it. The surface shimmers like oil on water. You begin again. New shipments. Tea from Assam. Dyes from the south. Some thing labeled medical tincture. Fragile. Do not inhale. You make a note in the margin. Ask someone what this is. Do not volunteer. The boy with the fan is absent today. You miss him more than you expected. His replacement is older, less enthusiastic. The fan moves slower, like it resents you personally. You sweat anyway. You pass midday with a bowl of rice that tastes of ashes and onions. A man nearby is yelling about mold in the opium crate. You avoid eye contact. Mold is above your pay grade. A page tears. You stop everything. This is an event. You fetch the wax. You press it carefully. It's crooked, but no one will know or care. You sit back and look at your desk as though it's an enemy you've outlasted. Your hand cramps. You hold the pen differently. It helps, but not much. You're developing a callus on your middle finger shaped like the company seal. You consider this a promotion of sorts. By late afternoon, the storm returns. The ceiling drips in a polite, rhythmic way, like someone whispering a secret in Morse code. You glance up, then down, then back to the page. The numbers do not stop because of rain. You think about writing a letter. You don't. You've written 12 in your head. None are suitable for paper. Too honest, too dull, too dangerous. You write only what can be shown to others. Someone sneezes nearby. It echoes oddly. You wait to see if there's a second sneeze. There is. Then silence. You mark it in your notebook. Possible illness. Location. Southeast aisle. Monitor. Evening. You walk home. The puddles are warm. Your shoes, such as they are, give up at the toe. You pretend not to notice. You climb the stairs, counting each one by feel. Inside, you light the lamp. It gutters. You relight it. You remove your shirt and hang it on the nail beside the window. You lie down and stare at the ceiling. There is a beetle. You watch it crawl across the beam. You name it Harold. Harold disappears behind a crack in the wall. You miss him instantly. The city exhales again. Heavy, reluctant. Sleep waits like an old friend who never smiles but always shows up. You turn to your side, listen to the hum of insects, the creak of a neighbor shifting in their bed, the final splash of water settling in the basin. You think, for a moment, about nothing. And in that silence, you begin to drift. The next morning is the same in every meaningful way. The heat is already pressing through the slats in the wall before you open your eyes. A slow, heavy sort of heat, like a thick quilt laid across the world. You sit up, blink at the room, and feel the film of sweat that formed while you slept. You didn't dream, or you did, but the dream was about tallying pepper sacks again, which barely qualifies. You splash your face with what little water remains in the basin, then wipe your hands on your trousers. The linen is stiff and smells faintly of old rice. You button your shirt. The ink stain on your right cuff has deepened into something almost permanent. You no longer try to scrub it out. It is a badge, a small one only you can see. Outside, the city is already alive, though it's a quiet sort of life. Carts rattle over stone. A woman calls to her children in a language you still don't fully understand. Somewhere, a rooster is objecting to the sun, which rises anyway. You walk the same road. The mango vendor is back. You consider stopping, but don't. Not after last time. The warehouse door resists a little. Humidity makes it swell in the frame. You press harder and it relents with a long, reluctant sigh. You step inside and the smell welcomes you like a familiar ache. Mold, ink, damp rope, dust, and the strange sweetness of aging spices. You take your place. You open the ledger and smooth the page. The paper is coarse but serviceable. You dip your pen. The nib scratches the page like a whisper trying to become speech. You write the date at the top, then pause. For a moment, just one, you consider what would happen if you wrote something else. A poem, maybe, a confession, a lie. But the moment passes. You write, shipment number 475 received. There is a rustling in the far aisle. Crates being shifted, you know the rhythm of it now. It's not hurried, not lazy, just endless, a kind of warehouse ballet. If the rats were choreographed, they'd fit in perfectly. You write for hours. You break for tea. It is hotter than the air in tea. Assays faintly of smoke. You sip it in the courtyard beside the warehouse, where a palm tree leans like it's tired of being vertical. A man is arguing with someone over a shipment of saffron that apparently arrived damp. Damp saffron is a sin in the spice world. You sip again. Back at your desk, you continue. The ink dries unevenly. You press your blotting cloth against the page, then re-dip your pen. You sign your name without thinking. Once, you spelled it with an extra E. You stared at it for a long time before correcting it. You wondered, briefly, who that version of you was. A storm rolls in by afternoon. The windows darken. You light the lantern, watch the flame dance in the draft. Rain begins in sudden sheets, drumming on the roof like impatient fingers. You pause and listen. The sound is almost musical. You count the beats between thunderclaps. 6, then 4. The warehouse roof leaks in the usual places. The far left corner, over the second crate row. You know where to put the buckets. You rise, move them into place, sit down again. It's become part of the routine, an odd, leaky ritual. Someone enters. A junior officer, perhaps. You nod. He doesn't nod back, just walks past, trailing sandalwood and ambition. You note it in your head. You don't like him. You don't dislike him. He's simply not part of your story. The day ends when the light dies completely. You seal the last page with wax, press the company seal into it, and close the ledger with the finality of a prayer. You stand, roll your shoulders, and gather your things. Outside, the rain has stopped. The street is damp and smells cleaner than usual. A rare moment. You breathe it in, cautious but grateful. You return to your room, light the lamp, sit by the window. You watch the street for a while. A man walks by with a bundle on his head. 2 children chase a dog. Somewhere, someone sings, the melody low and round, like river stones clinking together. You lie down. The fly is back. You name it Harold too. Harold, I hasn't been seen in days. You sleep lightly. You wake again. The ceiling greets you. You've memorized the cracks. You perform your morning rites. Splash, wipe, button, sigh. You walk the road. You pass the vendor. He nods. You nod back. The door sticks. You push. Your desk waits. The ledger waits. The ink waits. You begin. Shipment number 478 textiles. Received. Crates, 8, 1 damaged. You pause to listen to the sound of rope being coiled. You think about the men who do that all day. You think about their hands. You wonder if they think about yours. At midday, a crate is dropped. The sound is violent in the stillness. Everyone stops, then continues. No one speaks of it. You don't even look up. You eat rice. It is hotter today. Someone passes you a pickle. You eat it without question. It's sharp. You regret nothing. Afternoon. A man you don't recognize appears beside your desk. He asks for a record from last month. You find it. Pass it to him. He says nothing, just walks away. You consider saying, "You're welcome," but don't. The lamp smokes when you light it tonight. You watch the smoke coil and twist. You write something in your notebook. Smoke behaves like thought when no one is looking. You think that's quite profound. You close the book quickly. You don't want to ruin the moment. The days continue. One bleeds into the next. You stop marking the calendar. You stop counting the boats. You stop asking where they're from. But you continue writing, because that is what clerks do. The saltpeter comes in sacks. You note it. The indigo smells stronger now. You note it. A mouse dies behind a crate. You note it. The sky is orange this evening. You sit on the roof and note that too. There are days when you forget your own voice. When you don't speak until the tea boy asks, "More?" You nod. He pours. You nod again. You think that's probably enough language for one day. There is a rumor of transfer. You ignore it. There is a rumor of promotion. You scoff. There is a rumor of revolution. You write it in your notebook and underline it once. You remain. The river remains. The crates remain. The ink dries. And somewhere, far from here, a new clerk boards a boat. You don't envy him. You finish your entry, close the ledger, extinguish the lamp, and sit in the dark, listening to the city breathe, just as it always has, just as it always will. The dry season arrives quietly, without announcement. You notice it first in the way the air stiffens. The breeze that once carried moisture now brings only dust. It settles on your sleeves, your ledgers, your tongue. You begin to dream of rain not as an inconvenience but as a remembered mercy. Your days have narrowed into grooves, like ruts in a well-traveled road. Morning is a repetition of gestures. The splash of tepid water, the slow buttoning of your stained shirt, the descent of the stairs while counting each creak. You still nod at the mango vendor, who still does not smile. The warehouse does not change, but you do. Subtly, quietly, you write more slowly, as if conserving motion. You sharpen your quill less often, content with a dull edge. You've learned that nothing here requires urgency. Not the opium chests arriving cracked, not the weevils found in the rice stores, not the faint but persistent smell of something rotting behind the pepper crates. You record it all, dispassionately. Sometimes a letter arrives. Not for you, of course. You haven't received one in almost a year. But when others do, when someone tears open a wax-sealed envelope with trembling hands and glassy eyes, you watch. You do not ask, but you watch. And then, when no one is looking, you imagine the words that might come for you, if anyone still remembered where you are. At night, your dreams grow stranger. You dream of boats, enormous, silent things moving through fog. You dream of ink pouring endlessly from the sky, staining the streets black. Once, you dream of your own name being erased from a page as if it had never been written. You write that down in your notebook. Dreams of removal, emotional index. Quiet dread. You have developed your own system for noting internal weather. On the back pages of your ledger, in the spaces between shipments and barrel counts, you mark tiny symbols. A dot for fatigue, a curved line for longing, a square for something close to anger. No one else would understand the code. No one else needs to. New arrivals appear from time to time. Pale men in fresh shirts with sharp partings in their hair. They enter the warehouse with eyes too open. You watch them fidget, sweat, curse. Some try to reorganize the system. Some try to befriend the local workers with broken Bengali and misplaced pride. Most learn quickly. A few do not. One man, Hollingby, lasted 3 weeks. On the 4th, he insisted the rat problem could be solved with traps and logic. He built small wooden cages baited with dried fruit. You warned him quietly, without much hope. 2 nights later, the rats had stolen the fruit, chewed the cages, and built a nest inside his trunk. He did not return. You made a note. Experiment. Failed. Rats. Undefeated. Hollingby. Presumed relocated. You still occupy the same desk. Its surface bears the wear of time and your elbow. The drawer sticks more now, and the brass handle has tarnished to the color of old tea. You like it better this way. Your teacup has a crack that deepens with every pour. You drink from it carefully, cradling the flawed side against your lip. When it finally splits, you intend to keep both halves. They'll be lighter that way. A festival passes outside the warehouse. Drums, color, voices raised in chant and cheer. You do not participate. You do not understand it, but you listen. From your seat beside the saltpeter inventory, you let the rhythm pass through you. The sound of something ancient and joyful and utterly not yours. It is enough. One evening, a clerk asks what you do for leisure. You blink at him. You consider saying this. You consider saying, Nothing. You settle on. I write. He nods, misunderstands, and does not ask again. You do write. Not just ledgers. You've begun a separate book, bound in soft leather, pages yellowing at the edges. It contains observations, overheard phrases, maps of how dust settles on different days. You are building a kind of monument to stillness. You begin to document your own breath, how it sounds in the morning when the heat hasn't yet crested, how it changes when the air thickens with the smell of nutmeg and cardamom. You notice the rhythm of your pulse when you climb the stairs, and how your fingertips feel after a long day of inking pages. These are not the end oaths they trained you to take, but they are the ones that matter. One night, the city goes dark. A fire breaks out in a nearby quarter, not the warehouse, but close enough to smell the smoke. From your window, you see it. Flames licking the black sky, figures moving like shadows within shadows. You hold your ledger tightly, not out of fear, but because it is the only thing that feels real. The fire does not reach you. It burns through the night and is gone by dawn. You go downstairs and begin again. Shipment number 482. Camphor. Status. Intact. Fire damage. None. Clerk's heart rate. Elevated. The entry feels honest. You begin to measure time differently. Not in days or shipments, but in how long the ink lasts in your well. How often the water is changed in your basin. How long the mango vendor keeps the same price before adjusting by a fraction. These become your markers. The air thickens in April. Humidity returns with a kind of vengeance, crawling up your spine, curling into your sheets, whispering against the soles of your feet. You sweat more. You write more slowly. Your ink dries less quickly. You adapt. Monsoon comes early that year. The first real storm tears through like a myth reborn. You are at your desk when the roof begins to leak in new places. You already know where to place the buckets, but now you've fetched 3 more. The water finds you anyway. It drips on your ledger. You shield it with your arm. A rat scurries by with something in its mouth. Possibly paper. Possibly a piece of someone's sandal. Possibly both. You finish the page and seal it. Ink smudged. Entry salvaged. Clerk. Damp. You do not complain. There is no one to complain to. You simply change your seat by 2 inches the next day. Days stretch. Evenings linger. You become more adept at recognizing the difference between thunder and cannon fire, a skill you did not anticipate needing. There are skirmishes upriver, rumors of unrest, talk of unrest in London, in Madras, in places you can't picture anymore. You file the words in your mind and return to the ledgers. Your handwriting begins to change. You don't notice it at first, but one day you compare a current page to one from a year ago. It's subtler now, leaner, the curves tighter, the flourishes fewer. A clerk's script refined not by teaching, but by endurance. A man dies in the street. You see it from your window. He simply folds like a tent collapsing. People step around him for several minutes before someone kneels, checks, and then covers his face with a shawl. You do not move. You write, man, unknown. Death, unceremonious. Response, minimal. Clerk, unchanged. That night, you light 2 candles instead of 1. You do not know why. One morning, something different happens. A ship arrives from London with a letter bearing your name. The handwriting is your brother's. You open it carefully, like unwrapping something too old and too dear. The letter is short, warm. He asks how you are. Says the family is well. Your mother made gooseberry jam. Your father still believes you will come back soon. You read the letter 3 times. Then once more in the dark. You do not write back. Not yet. You do, however, fold the letter into a neat square and place it under your mattress. A weight and a reminder. The days press on. The roof is patched. A new shipment of pepper arrives early and breaks open in the hallway. The scent saturates everything. For a week, your sleeves smell like a market stall. Someone paints over the company name on the side of the warehouse. The new paint is the same color. You suspect nothing has changed. Another monsoon comes. More rain. The walls darken with damp. You begin to record the sounds at night in your notebook. Rain. Type A. Steady, round, forgiving. Rain. Type B. Sharp, vertical, accusing. Rain. Type C. Intermittent, lonely, too much like tears. You develop a fondness for type A. Sometimes you speak aloud in your room. Not to anyone, just to see how your voice sounds. It surprises you, deeper than you remembered, slower, like it's been waiting in your throat for months. A new clerk arrives. He is young, too clean. He asks you how to handle the ink inventory. You tell him. He asks how long you've been here. You shrug. He asks if you like it. You do not answer. The mango vendor raises his price. You buy one anyway. It is the best mango you've ever tasted. Your world narrows further. You stop checking the calendar pinned to the warehouse wall. The ink on its pages has faded to brown, and one corner has curled in on itself like a paper leaf. You don't need it. Your time is measured in crates and invoices, in the shifting scent of the river and the slow migration of light across your desk. You begin to find comfort in patterns. The exact weight of a full ink pot, the sound a sealed crate makes when struck with a knuckle, the moment each day when a sunbeam slices through the high window and falls perfectly on your right boot. These moments feel honest, unchanging, yours. Sometimes you speak to the ledgers. Not in madness. You know what madness looks like. You've seen it in the eyes of men who came here and couldn't settle into the rhythm. Your voice is steady, low. You say things like, well, number 493. Let's hope you behave. Or, to a particularly sloppy entry. You're not fooling anyone. You feel no shame in this. You've long given up the idea that silence is more dignified. There are evenings when the air tastes like iron. You don't know what causes it. You write it down anyway. You write everything down. Your small leather notebook grows thick with marginalia, observations, weather, insect patterns. On one page, you've drawn a detailed map of how rain collects on your windowsill. On another, a list of the 21 things you have touched that day. Number 7 is the edge of the world, in miniature, found in a rust stain on the banister. You surprise yourself sometimes. One afternoon, a clerk collapses. Heatstroke. His skin is the color of boiled sugar. His eyes unfocused. You fetch water. Others panic. You remain calm. You've seen this before. You know what to do. Later, they thank you. You nod. It doesn't feel like heroism. It feels like muscle memory. That night, you sit by the window and sip weak tea. The sky is unusually clear. You can see 3 stars and a smudge of moon. You consider writing a poem. Instead, you write, Clerk survives another day. Heat, tolerable, soul. Indeterminate. Weeks pass. You discover that the mango vendor has a daughter. She sells slices in small bowls with salt. You buy one. She smiles. You nod. It is the closest thing to joy you've felt in months. A snake appears in the storeroom. Long, gray, indifferent to your presence. You do not fear it. You wait until it leaves on its own. You make a note. Serpent, likely rat snake. Mood, peaceful. Ledger reactions. None. You begin to recognize the crows by their caws. One has a split feather on its left wing. You name it Albert. Albert watches you work. Sometimes you nod at him. He never nods back. There is a flood. Brief, shallow, but enough to force everyone to wade. The water is warm and full of floating debris. One crate of turmeric breaks open and stains the entire hallway golden. You track flecks of it into your room. It stays on your skin for 3 days. Your hands are different now. Thicker, calloused in odd places. Your nails perpetually tinged with ink. You wonder if they would recognize you back home. You remember home less often now. Your brother's letter has curled at the edges. You do not unfold it anymore. You simply hold it sometimes between your palms, like a coin worn smooth by time. There is a moment, brief and unremarkable, when you realize you no longer hope to leave. Not because you love it here, not because you've grown used to the dust or the heat or the smell, but because you've shaped yourself to fit the silence. You are no longer waiting. You are living quietly between shipments. Your name is still in the ledger near the front on the employee page. Inked once, never updated. You touch it sometimes, wondering how long it will last after you've stopped showing up. You still keep the notebook. You still write every night. You still whisper to the crates and the columns of numbers and the tepid tea. The river still breathes. The rats still win. The roof still leaks. And somewhere, far away, someone is wondering what became of you.